Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu pakhair agale ni hao churashumme washmale. Ohai gazaimes guten morgen. Hola, bonjour, privet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Buna mucho gracias, swabia bhalli kare aaya. Hoş geldin anayo sayo khuyamora chivatto chi haljot kalimera khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. Alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Sadaf Ali Khan, and I happen to be Mr. Shahzad Khan. We hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Sadaf, assalamu alaikum. How have you been lately?
I am really excited and really happy today because, you know, like, I won't say anything.
Are we going to give it away just as quickly as possible?
No, we won't actually.
I mean, obviously, you know, so we actually left you with a trailer, and that too was yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, where towards the end of the program, we gave up great news that there's this legendary personality who's going to be on our show. Alhamdulillah, you know, he's on our show as well, and we certainly do not want to waste any more time but to be in conversation with him. Not just that, I think for an individual who actually generated an entire genre which was different, nobody knew about it, and it became so popular that now in 2024, so imagine from 2000s to 2024, he's been ruling. He's one of those people who brought in Punjabi rap. He's one of those people who've been at the top of the charts. He's been that person who's actually been loved not just by in Pakistan, but all over the world, may it be India, Pakistan, Canada, UK,
exactly.
Switzerland, Austria, Australia.
And an inspiration for everyone who wanted to, you know, yo the scene. So yeah.
Exactly, and not a lot of people might even know this. Now imagine that this amazing gentleman is a Pakistani-American rapper, you know, he's a music producer from California, sings in Punjabi, describes himself as the Punjabi rapper and the pioneer of Punjabi rap. And in addition to this, imagine that he's the creator of Punjabi rap himself. He was born in Karachi and into a Punjabi family. Then he moved to Peshawar, and then from there onwards, ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows about him. We're very lucky. I think we need to do 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
You know, because for legends of such sort, who created a genre, a lot of people have jumped into it. So maybe, for example, across the border, we speak about, you know, Bacha, we speak about Honey Singh, we speak about Raftar. Then over here, we come down, we speak about youngsters, you know, we speak about Faris Shafi. So all of those people who are actually topping the charts, even now, ladies and gentlemen, he paved the way for them. It's a billion or $1 trillion industry. Wherever he goes, I think his name shines brighter than anybody else. Brings a lot of pride to Pakistan. We're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that we've actually been joined by the one and only 3, 2, 1, Bohemia! Assalamu alaikum, Paji. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much.
It's such an auspicious occasion, not just for us over here at PTV World, but for the entire Pakistan television. Look at the faces that surround us. It's your popularity, alhamdulillah. But for my viewers to know in 46 different countries, obviously they know about you, a boy who was born in Karachi and then moved to Peshawar and then brought about such a music scene that it has actually been influencing for people since 2000 till 2024. What was it that caught your sight? Were you musically so intellectual? You thought about it, okay, this is what I want to do. So how did it all start?
I think I'm very much like my mom. That's what I was told. I lost my mom at an early age, but as a child, I was very close to my mom. And as I grew up, I'm very much like my mom. She was a giver. She loved doing things for other people and you know, offer her service, her time to other people. And I think that's the nature that I have kind of inside me, and I very much enjoy entertaining people, you know, just giving people an energy where they enjoy.
So where does this idea of, you know, like coming into rap songs, it all originated from? You know, a young boy, he's just sitting and, you know, like seeing the world, connecting with it, getting himself into poetry. What actually got that kickstart in you?
Introduction to Mirza Ghalib and some of his poetry at an early age in Peshawar. I got a chance to, back then we used to watch TV. And then there was a show about Mirza Ghalib, and they would recite his poetry, and some of his poetry was composed by Jagjit Singh Ji for that show. So it was a combination of his poetry, his shairi, and then the composition that was put together by Jagjit Ji and Jagjit Ji and Chitra Ji's vocals on top of that. Just at that age, that just hit me at a very deep place. I think I was must have been maybe 7 or 8 years old, and at that moment of watching that shairi, I decided like, hey, that's something that I want to do.
Wow.
Even though I don't know how to do it, no idea what I'm gonna do, I literally got myself a book and a pen, and I just remember sitting down and going, okay, now what? Well, I had this vision as I remember thinking that maybe I was Mirza Ghalib. Maybe
Wow.
I was again, I felt like I was looking at him, even though I had no idea of what that is, you know, like the idea of maybe somebody reincarnating, or wasn't introduced to none of that, but I just felt like I was a poet and I need to do shairi.
And that too at the age of 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
Now, so imagine that, a boy at 6 or 7, watches a program on PTV about Mirza Ghalib and thinks that he's in his shoes, right? And he wants to be a poet all of a sudden. Now, I mean, for children, they might be affiliated with this feeling for probably 2 days, 3 days, and then eventually give up and move on to something else.
Oh, good.
So how was it for you? Then it stayed with you and you always pursued it, so were you one of those people who was so intellectually enlightened at that point of time that you were like, I think if there's something that I would want to do is this, that's it?
I wouldn't say that at that time I was any much like intellectually
Enlightened, yes.
like inclined more than other kids. I wouldn't say that about myself, but I definitely didn't get into things like things that a lot of other kids got into.
Yeah.
So I quickly after school, I just wanted to come home, throw my backpack, and I would tell my mom, like, hey, if the kids come and ask for me, just tell them I'm not here.
Okay.
Because they want me to come with them and maybe beat up another kid, or go play cricket, or do
Just be out
certain
on the
things that
streets.
other boys do.
Yeah.
I want to sit here and I want to come up with this poetry. I remember doing that, and to me it was, when I was introduced to the idea of explaining yourself via poetry, via shairi, via, you encode your feelings or your ideas, but then you have to do it on a certain meter. You have certain cadence that you have to follow. There's timing, there's rhythm, there's rhyme to it.
Yep.
So just doing poetry was, the idea of it was so cool to me. It was not the only thing that I was interested in. I was interested in other things like drawing. I loved that. I did that. Other, I guess, more artistic things I liked. But to me, poetry was like, wow, what is, like, this is cool. Like, how am I gonna get to explain an idea that might take me a day to explain it to you? Or I might not be able to do it at all.
Yeah.
Certain things I might not be able to say in front of you, just out of fear or shame or feeling vulnerable, But I'm gonna do it with this shairi. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hide my feelings in this shit. I'm gonna tell you exactly what's in my heart and my.
Wow.
But then you're just gonna chalk it off to the shairi. You're gonna say, oh wow, kya sher. And I'm
And
like,
not understand the feeling, and you, since hiding that shame and embarrassment and your feelings, which will take you 24 hours to kind of explain me, you're penning it down in 2 lines and a couplet as well. I think it's a beautiful feeling. I've never ever thought somebody say that before, and thank you so much for saying it, because it certainly makes meaning. Imagine that that there's one thing that you felt, you've got an expression. Now, so you started poetry, and meanwhile you started poetry, you started learning music from your father as well. How was that? So were you always a person who would love music, or was it your father was like, Bohemia, let's come down, sit down over here, and let's learn some music? How was it for you?
No, so again, that also happened with I got a hold of a little keyboard, probably given to me on a birthday or just, by someone as a gift. And again, I played it. I was like, this is cool. But it was too small. And I could sort of like,
Do happy birthday.
it was
or
similar effect as to the Shady effect, right? Where I could get my thoughts across. Music did the same thing, but music was abstract.
Okay.
It had no words, but it did
Give you a feeling.
touch you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could play something and get your attention.
Wow.
Whether I could play something sad or whether I could play something happy.
Even on
or-
that small piano?
on a very, very small piano.
I
that
do
was a
remember that. You know, which
touch-
came in
it
with
was a-
batteries, right?
It was a touch tone thing. It was no keys. There was
Okay.
no pressurized weighted keys
So
or
that's it.
anything. It was just like a
Basic.
made for kids, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it was buttons, literally. Like, and I was like, hey, I need a bigger one. So just a little bigger one was easy to get. And I wanted an even bigger one. Now for that, now we're leaving the toy store and we're going into the music store. And even the smallest keyboard is not that cheap.
True.
And how old were you at
At this time, again, I'm still 8, 9.
Yeah.
This is all happening simultaneously.
And you're already in a professional music store, and it's
Well,
expensive.
I had my eye on it. So the way it works is this. So you go to your mom and you tell your mom
This is
that I need something that's going to cost
this much.
upwards of like decent money. It's not no longer a toy thing.
Yeah.
So then you convince your mom, like, Mom, I need this keyboard. Trust me.
What was her first response?
Her response was like, he really wants it. The thing is, I was the youngest of the 5. I was, and by that I mean I was the closing act. The rest of them were opening acts. You see, like they were just like.
Yeah, if your siblings are
it
all
happens
If you're
in
in
a
the-
Desi
my-
household that,
yeah.
like when the youngest one is asking for something, it's like, "Bete, ye to chota hai." So, like.
He's the
it's-
cutest.
yeah,
I was the cutest. I was the I was closest to mom.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then convincing mom was easy. And now then I had to sit outside when dad came home from work. He went inside. It was a big discussion. Loud noises.
Yeah, this
I don't
and
really
that.
like it. You like it.
Yeah, very
I'm hearing all that.
relatable. Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, it's gonna take some. You think you're not gonna listen to her, guy? You're
Yeah.
gonna listen to her. Like, so comes out after a few minutes and just like, okay, he puts on his slippers, like, let's go. I gotta
Let's get it.
make me spending money on, just crap. Like, so boy, I got myself a Casio SA10 tone bank. Now this was a keyboard, bro, like this big. Had a few octaves I could, go up. It even played beats and everything. So now I was like, I'm in business. This is, now I'm thinking of, like, I want to get more, like, introduced to this thing. And my dad listens to a lot of Madam Noor Jahanji. And I'm also thinking of those Jagjit Singh ghazals that I listened to on that show of
Wow.
Mirza Ghalib. And then just other things that I love that's on TV, music we're growing up with, like, new album by Sajeel Ali came up, or, I'm listening to this group known as Vital Signs on TV, and I'm like, hey, let me try playing these songs, and see if I can.
Do something about it.
Yeah, this is
And then
cool.
how did it go?
Well, the way it went is I'm making mistakes and this and that. Like, come to find out, my dad is like, hey, I used to play harmonium.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, guy. Like, so he's like, I'll show you. Then I'm like, okay, cool. So he showed me a few things.
Wow.
And next thing you know, I'm playing songs and he's like, hey, I'm going to show you the songs that I like, which is the Madam Noor Jahan songs and the old
Yeah.
So you were self-taught.
self-taught, yeah.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, not only self-taught, but like self-taught backwards. I was left-handed.
Uh-huh.
My dad was right-handed. And in keyboards, we have a bass clef and a treble clef.
Yep, yep,
and,
yep.
And basically the right side and the left side.
Yep.
So the lead is the right side. But you see, I'm left-handed. My dad doesn't care. Like, I play it. He's just listening to it, and I'm playing. I'm playing lead with my left hand.
So it's like this now.
Well, I didn't think of this at
Yeah.
first. I'm just trying to get the lead down.
Yeah.
So I'm not even
Okay.
thinking this. I'm just thinking, hey, let's touch this thing. I'm using my left hand to do everything. Let's just do it. Next thing you know, I start playing lead. And I'm like, man, how come I'm not playing as fast, or like, hey, it's just, that's not the right thing. That's when I got a hold of some local guys. I had a band. They used to do band practice. I went
right.
there. He looked at me. He's like, bro, you're never gonna be a musician. Just quit it. Like, what are you? Like, look at this guy.
Ek hi kar rahe hain.
Aki kar rahe hai. And I'm like, I play it. And they're like, hold on. What do you like? Did you just pick up your left hand? Or like, they wouldn't even. Man, those guys were like, initially they were jerks. They wouldn't even tell me like, they're like, just. And I'm like, man, what's going on here? These guys should like me.
Then you learned it, and then you brought in your right hand to the game, and then it was like this.
Yeah.
Wow, must have been really difficult. I mean, obviously, I think if any one of you will ever get a chance to get a hold of Bohemia, you really need to ask him how he did that. But certainly there are more other things as well which we would like to ask. Now imagine, so at the age of 7, you were writing your own poetry, you were almost composing your own music tunes as well, and now you had a sense of how songs are being made, right? So you were becoming a master of the scale, alhamdulillah, and you eventually started playing. So in 2006, if I'm not wrong, I think your first album came out, which was Which Pardesan De, right? If I'm not wrong as well. So what was the process which went into the album? And then it was a massive hit. You received numerous awards, album after an album. Every single that you released, every song that you released were amongst the top 10 musics, not just over here in Hollywood, probably in Bollywood as well. There were people who were like, okay, who's this new guy at the block? So take us through, and what sort of stardom, where we were listening to Sajad Ali Saab over here in early 2000s. We were listening to Shahzad Roy. We were listening to Haroon, Aaron, Fakhir, and all of these people. And all of a sudden, there's, Which Pardesan De. So how was it? And the fame, when it came to you, what was the response of your family, your siblings, everybody? Hey, Bohemia, tu to star ban gaya yaar. How was it then?
So I listened to all those guys. Shahzad Roy, I listened to.
That's the beauty of it.
Obviously.
I loved all those guys, and then somewhere, Janoon and Jupiters and
Vital Signs.
and these guys were somewhere down, they definitely inspired me. But moving to California changed my life. I lost my mom upon arriving in California, and then within I would say a year or so, I left home. And sort of became like a homeless kid living with friends and other musicians. And
so life got difficult all of a sudden.
Yeah, life changed, and I left school.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just want to know that at what age you lost your mother? How old were you?
I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 14, and this is upon arriving to San Francisco. And I had started San Francisco Balboa High School. I had started schooling in San Francisco, which I did not like. I was just getting out of St. Mary's High School in Peshawar.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'm not so sure about how St. Mary's is now. But at that time, that school was amazing.
Fantastic.
We were so proud to tell people that we went to St. Mary's. And just going to that
Even
school
now.
was life was like such a cool, exciting mission, because we're going to St. Mary's, And I was a prefect and everything. I got myself
So you were a great student too.
I was a good student. My uniform, I love, man.
Spick and span.
So when I went to San Francisco Balboa High School, I did not appreciate it. I
Okay.
did not like the environment. I was like, wow, this is not. You guys think this is gonna work? All the kids are just coming in wearing whatever they want to wear.
Exactly, and I'm going to hold you over here as well, because we certainly would want people to kind of listen to this story, but we need to head out towards a short break very quickly and come back. And not just that, ladies and gentlemen, certainly we will be speaking about you know, all of those songs which have been topping. Not just that, you know, Bach has been speaking about him, you know, Honey Singh speaks about him. All of those amazing, fantastic people speak about him. Then there's
And
this,
we will be asking
Yeah.
Bohemia about his concept of below as well, because,
and,
you know,
and then there's this I don't know, you know, there's a diss culture going on, you know, so, you know, one rapper would actually talk about other rapper, the other rapper will talk about other rapper, but we have never ever seen Bohemia say that. Why is that the case? I think we'll figure it out right after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. The legend's still in the studio. Stay with us. Good morning.
yeah. Hello and welcome back to World This Morning. And this morning is actually turning out to be very exciting and very happening. We have Bohemia, the Punjabi rapper, with us in the studio. And before going on to the break, we were having a very deep and happening sort of discussion which circulated around which birthday Sunday.
I think we need to
Yeah.
kind of label the show today, you know, up and close
Yeah.
with Bohemia, ladies and gentlemen, and that's exactly. So he's 14 now, and he's moved to California and San Francisco, and he does not want to go to school. He's going to run away from home, and we're going to take it from there now. So please continue, sir.
Man, up and close with Bohemia. So yeah, man, once I reached to California, I was introduced to this new music that all the kids were listening to.
Yeah.
And
Was it Dr. Dre?
it was these cars going down the street, and just the bass,
Yup.
you know, all the cars are shaking with the bass, and I'm like, what is this? Well, this is hip hop music. Hip hop is something that all the kids are listening to. And at that time, I knew it, that, see, what happens is we follow a lot of the trends that start from the West and then they travel to the East.
True.
And California is actually, when we say West, we're talking about the Western world for ourselves. And when you go within California, within America,
There's another
California is the west side of America.
Yep,
So
yep,
this
yep.
is the west side of the west side.
West. Yeah.
And that's where all the trends start, you see.
Best
That's
of
where,
the best.
That's where the first electric cars started. That's where Yahoo, Google,
All of these things
all
came
the
in.
Silicon Valley was born. That's
Yep.
where first electricity was invented. That's where all the gang culture in the world was invented, started. You know, what I
That's
mean?
where the first thing happens.
It's just where it's the land of innovation, right? It's just the land
True.
of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was in Palo Alto, and guess where Khalid and Ali was recorded?
Where?
In
Where?
Palo Alto,
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. I still
down
remember
the street from
Yeah.
where.
And I still remember the lyrics because, you know, that was the time for us as well. Because imagine, so it happened in the west of the West.
Yeah.
Then it came to the, you know, this part of the world in Asia. And so we would go crazy and spend like hundreds and thousands of rupees to kind of put in amplifiers and bass
Yeah.
parts and
Yeah.
speakers and components. And I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, this is how it goes. You know, we used to pimp our rides with our speakers and whatnot. And then Khalid
All
Dinali
right.
comes in. And it's more like how, you know, the reclined seats and driving positions go down.
Yeah.
It's Kali, Dinali, Gadi de shishe kale, mere agge piche, firan police
police
wale, you know, all of
wale,
that.
yeah.
You know, so it
Yeah.
changed the culture all of a sudden. What was the impact that it had in the west of the West?
Well, it was made for the west of the West.
Yeah.
It was not made for the Eastern world.
Okay.
It was not. When I was told by some of the people that, hey, you should take this music to Pakistan and India, I said, I laughed. I said, there's no way.
That they
No
will
one's-
listen to
they-
this?
They're not going to listen to it. What's the point?
Yeah,
See, I wasn't realizing the west to east effect at that time.
true.
At that time, I was just
How
going with
old
the
were
flow.
you know, when Kali Dinali came out?
I'm not sure, man. This is like, for a few years, you see, when I left home, I became a keyboard player.
Okay. Sessions and everything.
So now I'm playing with musicians and singers, and I'm a keyboard player, living with other musicians in their studios and the garages. I'm a nomad musician
Yeah, that's it.
with my
You're
keyboard.
doing all your own sessions, getting paid for
Yeah.
it, you know, so
Yeah.
day-to-day affairs, that's it.
It's one of my closest tabla player friends got murdered,
Okay.
Oh.
and then another friend was, we went to jail. He's locked up now, the singer guy. He was the lead singer. I was a keyboard player, lost the tabla guy, singer's in jail. The guy who used to manage us, he got shot at, almost died. So now what's happening is my group is going through this dark stage where I'm like, man, you guys are getting into trouble, and I'm over there trying to maintain my relationship with these guys. I'm writing letters to this guy in the jail. I'm actually going to the jail to visit him. You know, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm the youngest out of my group too, so I'm a little more, let's see, I'm a little more well-versed with the culture. So these guys are like, hey man, how do you do? I'm like, oh, we could get a lawyer, we could get this, we could do that, you know, and they're like,
So you were always out there helping your friends as well.
I'm trying to make this thing happen. At the same time, I'm seeing the whole ship is sinking. And that's that's when I leave my band in Sacramento and I come to this new town called Oakland. Well, not too new to me, but I didn't used to live there. But now I moved to Oakland just because now I don't want to do music no more.
Yeah, that's it.
So
That's
when
it.
You've had enough.
When we listen
Yeah.
to music, everybody has their own way of addressing their beloved ones. They can actually address them in different, terms they can use. You have been using this term, and like since the beginning, you have been using a term which is below. So either it be below Tere Nakhre Hazar and all that, or any other song. If we talk about it, we have been talking about below. What is the concept of below for Bohemia? Like who tends to be the below? How do you describe the below as?
That's a different question.
I don't. You see, I actually, my music describes itself.
Okay.
So if I was to sit here and tell you, these days when I write music, I don't use a pen or a paper.
Okay.
Really?
So I just turn the beat on,
And you just sing it freestyle.
think of some things, say it, record it, and that's it. And before you know it, the song is done. And they're like, I'm like, hey, I can think of more. They're like, no, it's enough. So I don't, music is it is a representation of my life. I got into it because of Mirza Ghalib. And for the most part, what Mirza Ghalib was doing was actually, he was in a British rule, and in which rule he couldn't say much. You see, he wasn't the guy in control, he was the underdog. So as an underdog, he had a lot on his mind that he wanted to say.
You know what's the best
But
thing
he could
about
get in
you?
trouble for saying it.
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what's the best thing about you? You cannot be tricked into any question. If I ask you, if I try to, ask about, what's your favorite person? How do you define the beauty as? You would actually, take it into a very emotional and deep.
Because the
and
basics are right now. Because the
conversation.
basics are
I
right.
really,
yeah.
exactly. I really like this
No,
point as well.
I can define
so
it.
if exactly, and I want to know more about this because the deep, the intellectual, the very emotional person. We share the same zodiac sign as well, Libra. So, so if we talk about the depth of everything, it actually comes out to be you. How do you write your songs these days? Like if we talk about putting your energy, your emotional everything into it, how much time do you take to write a song, to compose a song, and what is the inspiration these days?
Oh, these days, you just cannot run out of inspiration. I'm inspired. So many artists inspired me that I inspired to be artists. You know? And now I see them and they inspire me. There's so much I still think that I haven't talked about. I haven't,
For example.
Please.
For example, what do you think you haven't spoken about? Because I think that that the way that you've spoken about and things, and that you portrayed how things need to be, how rough life is, how getting better is, how affiliated with other people is, how ruling the world is. Because this is one thing which has been common in your albums and songs, and that is that you are the king, right? And that's exactly how your lyrics will always resonate with it. So do you think that the king himself, the king of Punjabi rap, thinks that that there are things that I've not spoken about as of yet, So what can be those things? If they're not very controversial, if we can share them on screen, please go ahead. If there's one thing that you can speak today, what will that be?
Well, I've you know, never talked about my mother on a track.
Yeah, yeah. Never ever. Yeah, I've never
Never
heard
ever,
about
yeah.
you speaking
I
about your
just-
mother, yes.
But I might. It's not an easy thing to talk about.
True,
Maybe
true,
it will. It's taken me many years just to think about that.
true.
So, yeah.
And you know, while we're talking about all of this, and I think that, you know, that your, how Sadaf actually elaborated and how your connection is with things, it's just, it's different. It's not like that you're skimming through things. It's like how you're a keen observer, how you remember
Yeah.
all those actions of your mother, and you know, while you're talking about it, it feels like as if there's a reel going on in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
So all of these things, which certainly make sure that you have been a great son to your parents, and alhamdulillah, with all of their prayers and blessings from Allah Almighty and God, you know, you're here at this stage. So let's talk about your stardom now.
Yeah.
Now, when all of this stardom came in, when you know you left a band, you were a session player, you know, you didn't have a home to yourself, you weren't going to school. One of your friends was murdered. One of them was in jail.
Yeah.
You know, and the ship was sinking. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you recorded this song, and it blew up. And then
Yeah.
everybody's calling you, Bohemia, yeah, please come over here, go over there. So, you know, all of a sudden, there's a stardom. Not just that. Imagine you know, actually you had a deal with multi-record deal with Universal Music Company.
Right.
You were making millions of dollars already. How did it feel then? And do you think that, you know, all those millions of dollars and all of this fame, while your parents weren't around, meant the same? Or did it give you any comfort? Or then was it like, but that's it, but it is what it is?
No, definitely. I think you need to. The problem that I had with my band guys that were getting in problems, and I wanted to leave the band. I wanted to leave music. That's why I came to
Yeah.
Oakland, was not to start
produce music,
Punjabi
yeah.
rap or start,
Which-
put my keyboard away and get into something that makes money,
Okay,
that gets me financially set.
stable, yeah.
I was very much interested in doing something that not having money was really scary to me. Because being homeless, sometimes I had no car, sometimes I would have to wait for the musician guys to pick me up
True.
from a bus stop to a train station to, hey guy, can you pick me up so then I can get there? I'm gonna wait for you there with my bag. I remember being so hungry, I had just a few cents in my pocket, and I bought a chewing gum pack.
Okay, chalo.
And then I didn't spit the chewing gum out. I ate, swallowed it. I ate another one, swallowed it. That's how hungry I was, because I was like, bro, that's all I got. Let me just swallow it,
I got.
so at least my stomach stops hurting.
Yeah.
So my interest for leaving music was because, like, hey, because you musician guys are up to these, you have this nostalgia for music. You have this love for music, where you're like, it's okay, I'll die and be broke and have no money, but you know, check this guitar out, like, you know, like, and I'm like, that made me hate music.
Yeah.
That made me
That
not
made you
like-
sick,
yeah.
basically. Yeah.
It made me sick
Yeah.
because I was good at it, but at the same time, I'm like, guy, this is tough. This is not the life I think that. I
I would
mean,
want to have.
I'm too young right now, and what am I? I'm gonna end up in jail or shot up or dead like one of you guys. That's
True.
pretty much what's gonna happen.
True.
So what I do is I leave that. But then I can't find a job now because all I did all my life was as a keyboard player. So now I don't have a resume. So people
Yeah.
are like, hey, you need a job? Bring a resume and I'll get you a job. I'm like, what is a resume? Well, just write all
What
the
have you
jobs
done?
that you.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I played keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anything, guy? You worked at McDonald's? Anything? I'm like, nope. It's like, then now I hate music even more. I'm like, bro, I should have worked at McDonald's.
Yeah.
At least I had something to write
That's
down,
sad.
like I worked at McDonald's. No. So now I'm like making a fake resume, like
What did I
worked
do?
here, worked there.
Brother,
Bro, I'm gonna
yeah.
write your name here, please. Trying to get a job. So now that doesn't work.
Did you get a job?
I got a random gaffer job, like just to put wires away as a
That's it.
in
Yeah.
a warehouse.
Okay.
That's how I ended up in Oakland.
All right.
I got a job there.
And then how did you end up being in the studio over there?
Well, I had my machine with me still. I had my keyboard with me. That job went under.
All right.
Okay.
One day we came, and they were handing boxes. Hey, put your stuff and go home. I'm like, what?
Oh.
The company's closed, guy. I'm like,
Oh.
what?
And since we're talking about the resume, I'm so sorry to interrupt over here, but I want to know that what was the name you wrote on your resume?
That's a
Trying to break
different,
it down.
that's a different way of
Came
asking
up-
the same question.
Probably came up with something smart. I know I wrote that I went to college,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's what you get a job if you write.
So
you go to.
what's your okay? I was tricking you into it again. What's your real
Probably
name?
he
if
does
you
not want to
Oh
give it
my!
away.
Tell us.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
real name is Roger David.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
very
born
nice.
with that name.
And,
yeah.
and
got
it's
your
written
name.
in front of you as well, you know,
Yeah.
courtesy me. Thank you so much. But while we're
So,
at it,
yeah.
how did you come up with the name Bohemia then?
It was just given to me by a friend.
Really?
Well, a friend at that time.
Okay. He's
Yeah.
not a friend of yours
No
now?
way. The idiot sued me and like
My God. For the name
for the name
that he gave you?
He said that he gave me everything.
So he's not a friend, honestly.
Yeah, no way, man. Like,
And
so
why Bohemia? So what's the, psychology behind it?
just for the meaning of it, Bohemian is, if you look up the word, you'll know what that means.
Yep.
Everyone has phones these days.
Yep.
You know what Bohemia means. It's like the word Bohemian, like
Yeah.
the word of in the sense of the meaning of the word. But I think name has nothing to do with, a lot of artists get hung up on it, but I don't think name has.
Yeah. So
Anything
don't get
to-
yourself
to
stuck
do-
in it.
Yeah, I mean, name, I didn't even think twice. It's just a name. It's really about music. You see, as a kid in Peshawar, I was already infatuated with wanting to grab your attention with poetry. I got introduced to this music called hip hop. And I'm like, all the kids over there are just fixated with listening to rap. And that gave me a vehicle. I liked it. I said, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I can use, this is how, I listened to a few rappers and I started because rap was everywhere, right? So I started paying attention to the lyric content of these rappers. And it hit me. I'm like, man, they're very similar to what Mirza Ghalib was doing.
Yeah.
What these rappers are doing. I believe it or not, I mean, I guess it's the Libra thing, it's the depth that we have,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I saw it from a depth angle and I'm like, man, these rappers are what Mirza Ghalib was. And that's what's missing. I think it was a beautiful light bulb where I'm like, maybe I can put my lyrics, my Punjabi lyrics, onto a beat and
How did it go for the first time?
do what these rappers are doing. Very hard. Very hard. I was like, wow.
Were you off tempo?
No way.
No,
Tempo
tempo
I was
was-
never off because I was trained with
Yeah,
these
piano and
tabla
everything.
players. You see,
Yeah.
I was playing tabla with Syed Ji, who's Zakir Hussain Ji's
Yep.
nephew. I'm playing with these
Then
masters.
why was it
and
hard?
Because I didn't speak Punjabi.
Oh, yeah. So
Oh.
first you were
Yeah.
left-handed. You had to rewire yourself right-handed.
Yeah.
Then you left music. Then you left your friends. You didn't want to do music.
Yeah.
Then here you are at that place.
Yeah.
And now you do not know Punjabi, but you want to do Punjabi rap.
Yeah.
There's Mirza Ghalib to it. Wow, it all makes sense. Please, please,
Yeah,
please.
and I myself have a warrant out. Cops are looking for me.
Why are they
So-
looking for you?
Now that I'm not gonna answer you, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and we do
Like
not even
that,
want that. We
Okay.
do not even
Yeah.
want that.
No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
yeah.
I got into trouble, but
Uh-huh.
but all this time I want to be an artist, man. Like
Yeah.
it's like I want to be an artist. I don't want to be in. So now, for some reason, when I start put my pen and my shairi is in Urdu, but when I want to make the rap music, it's for some reason I decided to do it Punjabi, and I think it's most probably is because at the time I was working with a lot of Punjabi artists, so
Yeah.
I was a keyboard player for Punjabi singers.
Yeah. So
So the content that I was listening to was Punjabi,
came.
Punjabi.
wow.
And I
And since, you know, for somebody who's a keen observer, and I think that, you know, who's actually had this much of journey, understands music and compose, has been playing, you know, so it absolutely makes sense. And there you are, you know, you're a magnificent hit, alhamdulillah, and we always still pray that, you know, that you keep on topping the charts like always, that you've been doing so as well. Now I'm going to bring you back to Pakistan 2024 very quickly, that we have to do it fast forward because we're short on time now. So you were here, you know, the fan following that you have over here is massive. You know, it's probably in today's time, if anybody wants to understand, that is probably not even less than Shah Rukh Khan, not less than Diljit Dosanjh, or people like that. Honey Singh over there in India speaks about you. You know, Bacha speaks about you. Every rapper who's coming to the blog speaks about you and looks up to you like this. But one thing that I would want to kind of speak about is when, unfortunately, Sidhu Moosewala passed away. You know, you were one of those people who actually kind of felt it with all his heart. You know, wherever you were, you painted walls with his you know, pictures. There was Drake, and you guys were remembering Sidhu Moosewala. You know, for you to kind of have these connections with such people, and for them to look up to you, you know, you did a song with Sidhu Moosewala, and in an interview you said, even if he was alive today, we would have been singing together. And then there were a lot of controversies about it. Would you mind, you know, clearing the air? What was it about? A lot of people said कि Bohemia कह रहा है कि वो सिद्धू के साथ गाना करेगा, सिद्धू पता नहीं कह रहा है, नहीं कह रहा है, all of that. So how was it? Do you think that, you know, people actually made a controversy about it, where you were actually kind of remembering Sidhu Moosewala only, and you shared that, you know, that we did a song and, you know, we were good friends together? How was it? How did it go?
You see, when these things happen online, I don't clarify it.
Okay.
Because that's a, basically, people online, when they see something and read something, they see like a clip.
Yeah. So they do not know the entire story.
Yeah, and then it's hard. I've never been concerned about
What's happening?
what they want to say, if they want to follow me, they want to block me, want to come to my show or not. They want to, you know, they want
So you're not a
to
part of it.
threaten me, my life. Happens all the time.
Yep.
But to me, it's like, hey, I can't really, to be well-weathered, to somehow gain consistency, and you just have to move forward. You can't really stop and
Wow, thank
concerned
you.
about things. So yeah, I mean, it's a relationship that I had with Sidhu, was me and Sidhu, very close relationship.
That's
you know,
it. Yeah.
I've never hung out with, I mean, if you hang out with a guy wearing matching shirts, getting tattoos together and, you know, partying together, you're very close to the guy.
Exactly.
And
Obviously.
this is your inner
So-
beauty that, you know, like you refrain yourself from talking about anyone, and this is very beautiful.
And this is how you stay the king as well. So thank you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much, you know, for setting the
Yeah,
pattern right
so-
as well, where there's no dissing culture,
No, I
not
mean,
promoting that.
The relationship that I had with him was a close one, you know, and that's something that I cherish. That's something that I'm really, now I feel like I'm blessed to have that. You know,
Exactly.
and that's
And this is exactly one thing, Bhumia Paji, that, you know, I always share with my audiences. That is that, you know, art does not have any language, no boundary, no ethnicity. There's no color involved in it. There's no discrimination in it. And while you're here, there's one thing that we would love to share, and that is that today actually happens to be the 27th death anniversary of Sultan Rahi Saab, a great film actor, and we're remembering him today as well. So just before we wrap it up, would you want to say any poetry, a couplet, you know, for Sultan Rahi Saab, whatever you feel like, please go ahead.
I would just say rest in peace, and you know, no, I can't think of any poetry,
But
for,
still.
for a moment like that, other than.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for, you know, for sharing your thoughts about it. You know, may he rest in peace. He's contributed quite a lot. He was a veteran film actor. You know, he's contributed, not just that, may it be comic timing, may it be serious, may it be him being a villain. I think Sultan Rahi Saab has done a magnificent job. He certainly did pave way back in 1970s and 80s for a lot of youngsters who are actually working today as well. But Paji, thank you so much for joining us. It was wonderful to have you over here.
Thank you
and
so much.
It's very rare that, you know, I've spent an entire hour speaking heart to heart, up and close. I mean, it does not really sound very nice from my mouth, up and close with Bohemia.
No,
But yes, thank you so much. I
you.
really
Appreciate both of
appreciate it. And, you know, obviously our OG guy, Mr. Hassan Malik, I would want to thank him as well. You know,
Sure.
thank you so much, Hassan Bhai, for being out there, for all of us as well. Thank you so much, Paji. Congratulations to you, and we certainly are your fan. We keep you in our prayers, and we want you to progress every single day. And may prosperity stay with you always, Amin.
yes.
So, Amin, for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, there were a lot of things to learn. How disciplined individual can actually change the world for his own better, and not just for his own better, but for people who actually surround him or are around him. You know, so the amount of pain, agony, and the problems that he went through, I do believe that now the future generations do not have to go through such painful activities. But for us to listen and learn is something that we can do and reflect upon. Thank you so much, sir, once again.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you over here. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves, love each other, and listen to Bohemia only. Good morning.
Oh yes, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.